Here we are, Mindful Monday, looking at desire, looking at manifesting, and looking at this suffering that is inherent when we start getting attachments to those desires. So we're going to take a little bit to come into our Monday meditation just by settling in and becoming fully present in the body, clearing away all of the razzle-dazzle from the day, and just allowing ourselves to be here and now in the safety of this beautiful sacred space that we create. Every Monday we come together, 4 o'clock on the Pacific Coast time. And so if you want to ever jump in and be a part of the live virtual, you are so welcome. It's all donation based, and everybody is welcome. So we open up sacred space today, coming into our heart space, taking that deep breath into the heart. Knowing that our practice today is for the highest good for all beings, the highest good for the Pachamama, Sweet Mother Earth, and for the highest good for you as well. Keeping this safe and sacred container, we call upon our guides and wisdom keepers to hold us sweetly. And we say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you to this all that is, our God, Goddess, the Tao, whatever it is that you feel most at home in calling that higher power. We invite that energy into our heart space and into our sacred space today. And as we bring that awareness fully into the heart, you might want to say hello to your beautiful heart and thank your heart. Thank your heart for job well done and for being vulnerable. For being open and willing to expand. Expand in beauty and grace. And we want to bring the awareness now to the top of your head, that beautiful crown chakra. And you can picture, sense, feel a beautiful lotus flower on the top of your head. And with breath and intention, we're going to begin to open that lotus flower, petal by petal, connecting you to the divine, connecting you to the all that is. And if you'd like to go ahead and sweep your beautiful access point, this is where we access energy outside of our energetic field. So you can sweep that up, any openings that you have in your energetic field, sweep them up to the crown so that you are accessing directly. Beautiful. Just breathing in that energy, allowing heaven to ascend into your body. And just softening Each breath, we soften that area at the top of the head. And each exhale, we let go. We let go of the stories of the day. And bring ourselves fully right here in this present moment. And we soften into the forehead, just breathing with that intention. Each exhale softening even more. Softening the areas around the eyes and into the jaw. And bringing that little half smile to your mouth. Smiling to the insides, knowing that all is well. And bringing that awareness now to your neck, your throat, and softening. Seeing if you can open up those vertebrae a little bit more. Each exhale is bringing us closer to home. Closer home to the body. Closer home to this moment. To the present. Drop in the shoulders. Allowing the weight of the world to just fall away. No place to go and nothing to do, but just be here now. Breathing into the chest. Softening that space in the back of your heart. Feeling the rise and fall of your chest as you breathe and as the breath breathes you. Inviting spirit in through the breath. Coming into the belly. Feeling that breath coming in to all the organs. Thanking your liver, your gallbladder, that beautiful pancreas, processing all the sweetness in your life. Thanking your intestines. Just really softening and opening the body to this moment. Feeling the breath coming into the pelvic bowl. Softening the hips. Really feeling your spine and how all of those nerves and beautiful, beautiful electrodes are firing. Noticing in that pelvic bowl how you can really get rooted, grounded right here. Perhaps even feeling a sense of growing roots deep into the earth. And breathing into the legs. Feeling that sense of groundedness in the legs. And taking a full breath in, releasing any last little bits of tension that may be in your body. Taking that deep breath in and allowing it all to just unfold. Feel it, sense it, just releasing with each out breath, bringing us more and more present and into the moment. And knowing that our guided meditation is a practice. It's a practice. We're training the mind to stay. And as your mind begins to drift out, it's okay. We just train and call it back home again, taking a breath, recentering, coming home to the moment. We are gentle with ourselves. We are gentle with this process. We are warriors in training, warriors of that love and light. And we practice love for ourselves, compassion for ourselves, just by coming home over and over and over again. Knowing that in each moment we have an opportunity to begin again. Fresh start. Fresh moment, fresh now, fresh you. When we continue to come back home and into the moment, it is here that we can connect to that Tao, to God. To the all that is. It's here where we can find that stillness and become aligned with our higher consciousness, with our higher self, without distractions. Here, we can find that stillness and become centered. In every moment, there is an opportunity to find that. To find that stillness and to find that beautiful energy of all that is. This is our deep communion, coming home to the higher self, coming home over and over again. Where there is nothing and yet there is everything. Where we know that we are connected and interconnected with all life, with Pachamama, where there is no separation. And so if you would like to dedicate your practice today to a certain being or place or plant, now would be a great time to make that offering and dedicating your practice. And we ask that all beings be able to feel the ripple effect of this practice as we dive a little bit deeper into the breadth and width of our practice today. We dive into the depths of desire. desire. So for many of us, there's been much confusion around this thing called desire. And so I thought I would dedicate this practice to the contemplation of desire, manifestation, and attachments. And just notice what shows up in the physical manifestation as we even begin to contemplate desire, manifestation, and attachments. Just be the observer. What's happening in your body? We don't want to attach a story to it. We just want to be that sacred witness. And so usually we begin the manifestation process by coming from a space of desire. We want to manifest that what we want, that what we need, something, anything, a change, a thing, or perhaps many things, that we really just want something different than what actually is. Yet we know inherently that this takes us out of the present moment. And perhaps unconsciously, we begin to form attachments. In all manifesting, we attach ourselves to a felt sense of what it is we wish to happen or that desire. In all manifesting, we attach ourselves to the felt sense of what we wish to or what we desire. It begins, if we are not conscious, it can begin to move us from this sense of gratitude for what we actually have, and it actually moves us from the truth of what's in this moment. Our Buddhist teachers would say that this is the moment of the beginning of our suffering. To have desire. So we know that desires are states of mind that are expressed through wanting, through wishing, longing, and craving. A strong feeling of wanting. As a culture, we've had ambivalent feelings about the feelings of desire. really from the very beginning. And we see in not just the Buddhist tradition, but in Christian tradition, this desire is sort of looked down upon from the Christian state. It's termed the lust of the flesh or the pride of the eye, rather than that those eternal rewards, right? Western philosophers, though, on the other hand, they generally view desire as fundamental to human life. To be human is to desire what we don't have. And we can see where desire motivates us in many ways. The physical desire, such as hunger or thirst. Intellectual desire is called curiosity. Economic desire is called consumer demand. Some would say if we remove these expressions of desire, that human life as we know it would cease to exist. That our culture in general and our economy in particular are built on our desire. So we begin to question, have we been conditioned towards desire? Or is desire a design in the human matrix for our evolution? The desire to want to be better. The desire to be a better human. There's a 15th century Indian mystic, Kabir. He's a poet and a philosopher who's really revered by the Hindus and Muslims at this time. And he argued that desire constitutes a true wealth, or the true wealth of humanity. The seed of our deepest desire lies in the depth of our consciousness. And we might not be aware of this higher consciousness or this upper level of consciousness because it's still buried in that lower storehouse of consciousness that is influenced by the conditionings. We have to really dive, not just in the surface wantings, but we have to really want to dive deep and really scout out that higher consciousness and the motivation behind the desires, the attachments. Deep down, we have the need to love and to be loved, to make people happy. to understand the reality of life inside of us and around us. This desire is coming from the higher consciousness. There is no attachment of the outcome. There is no attachments to the outcome. There's a saying in Tibet that at the door of the miserable rich man sleeps the contented beggar. And I don't believe that the point of that is to say that poverty is a virtue, but rather happiness really doesn't come from wealth, but rather setting those limits to one's desires. Living within the limits of satisfaction. Living with the sense of gratitude for what is. So the Dalai Lama says desire can contribute to lasting happiness as long as they're not tainted by cravings and grasping. So we start to become discerning about these desires. We start examining these approaches and the emotions that are behind the desires. In Buddhism, there are 3 traditional approaches to sort of shaking up those emotions and those examining those feelings of desire. And the first method is to develop an antidote. In the case of desire, one such antidote is the cultivation of non-attachment. This gives us a way to sort of neutralize the desire by not having the attachment to the outcome. So we start clearing our attachments, that it has to look a certain way, that the person has to do a certain thing. And with the second method, rather than focusing on the desired object itself, we tend to start going into the nature of the desire itself. Why? The whys. Why are we desiring this? What is the desire about? Perhaps looking at what we're missing. Are we trying to fill a void within ourselves? We see this in relationships. We see this in our addictions. So we want to start going into the depths of the desire itself and pondering, well, why do I desire this? Is this coming from an egoic pattern? Is this coming from a wound? And this begins to free ourselves when we have that depth of that inquiry as to the desire itself. The third method, which is said to be the most challenging and yet the most powerful, is turning the energy into the fuel itself. So whatever that desire is, we just manifest a path of complete desire. The metaphor that is most commonly used is the peacock, which eats poisonous substances to make its feathers more brilliant. So this takes a strong conviction to actually go down that third way, that path. To become the desire itself, to eat the desire. In the Buddhist tradition, it is said that all suffering flows from desire itself. In the Four Noble Truths, it teaches us that suffering exists in the world and that this suffering exists because we are in fact attached to our desires. And if we can loosen our attachment, our suffering will cease. Losing the attachments to our desire. Going back and feeling, sensing, really understanding from our higher consciousness the why. Why do we have this desire? Are we desiring food because we are hungry and it's a physiological thing? Or are we desiring food and eating our sorrow? Eating our pain? The attachment would be that perhaps we might feel better. The only way to free ourselves from suffering and obtain happiness is by ridding ourselves of the source of suffering, which is inherently coming from this desire and the attachment that we have for the desire. Desires come, stay, go away. But the attachment is the desire for a specific thing occurring again and again. That you're going to have some sort of fulfillment and thus not accepting of who we are right now. The attachment is thinking about the same thing or the same person. It literally becomes an energetic attachment, part of you. And you begin to identify with the attachment, the desire, and feel as if we're not enough. So does desire start poking that bear that's inside of feelings that we're not enough? We need something more. Does it start poking the energies that says scarcity? So we see by the teachings that desire can be a great motivator for moving us into next level of our life. If it's coming from the sense of higher consciousness and that we don't have an attachment to the outcome. In an interview with Babaji, the interviewer asks, I'm curious about the relationship between desire and attachment, because it seems that desire without attachment doesn't make sense, because there is no attachment without desire. Why do we say ego attachment and desire go together? And he responds with, desire and attachments are expressions of the ego. Desire without attachment doesn't create reality of anything desired. Without the ego, there are no desire and attachments. So ego, attachment, and desire are together. If we just work on our attachments, would that still work? He says yes. The first step is to develop the non-attachment to the object or to the person. And it will begin to weaken the desires. When attachment and desires are weakened, the ego will lose its control over the mind. They ask about attachments to other human beings. Babaji says we are seeking to be less attached, but still we are in these relationships. If you are less attached, Will you care less? If you are more attached, how do you express it differently? Attachment is a feeling in the heart generated by the ego of ownership. It has nothing to do with the outer activities. You still love your mate. You still love your children. You still love your friends, but you never forget their mortality. You're not attached ignorantly. It says the ego always seeks for self-interest. So we kind of have a little map then to start understanding these desires, understanding if we are coming from that higher consciousness without attachment, without self-interest, and then we know, oh, okay, we can move forward in manifesting. So in thinking about our own desires, we can begin to do that deep examination. So bringing to your mind right now something or someone in which you have a desire. Just bring it to your awareness without judgment. Good, perfect. You got it. And now let's begin to look at the desire and the attachments themselves. Is this desire serving your ego? Are you getting something specific from it? Or does this desire come from that higher state of consciousness? And we can take this desire and run it through those 3 gates of integrity. So starting with, is this desire really for my highest good? Non-attachment to the egoic states. And you can ask, is this desire for the highest good of all humanity? And that last gate of integrity is for the Pachamama. So does this desire serve the highest good for our planet? What does this desire serve? What are the attachments? And now picturing in your mind's eye that you have the magic scissors to cut all of those attachments. And with each cut, we take that breath of release. And we begin to cut the strings to all those attachments of this desire. Cutting away all the attachments, letting them all go with each out-breath. Liberation, true freedom, loving without attachment, desiring without attachment. Cutting all the strings, all the ties. Perhaps there's the string and tie to the addiction. Or the string and tie that is attached to a feeling of scarcity or unworthiness. Perhaps it's a string or a tie just to see something different, a different outcome in your life. We give it up to Spirit. We express the desire without the attachments, and we see that without the attachments, it can actually float and morph and grow. As the divine's will helps to shape and mold. And perhaps the universe has a special surprise that was beyond our own comprehension of this desire to make it even better. Can we allow for that? Can we just poof, allow it to make manifest, knowing that it will be for the highest good, for you, for all of humanity and all beings on this planet, and the planet herself. Perhaps we cannot even in our mind's eye envision the depth and width of what this desire could be now that we have let go of our own attachments. Here we are in a space of allowing it to unfold however way it needs to, for it to be in its highest frequency. Feel the difference of how allowing this desire to take shape however way it needs to. Feel that in your body. Is there a sense of freedom? A sense of joy? And notice how your higher self is just feeling at this moment. Perhaps it is a sense of elation. Non-attachment to the outcome. Knowing that now this is for your highest good. Any last little attachments? We take that deep breath in and exhale, releasing, sending it out to the others, allowing that desire to become a miracle. A miracle for you, for all beings, and for the earth. And so it is, and so it is, and so it is. Taking that deep breath in and exhale. And so, thinking about desire, attachments, letting it all go. May your week be filled with so much love, so much joy. May all your desires be coming from the higher realm. So much love. Oh.